Holy hell, everybody. It is Brian, and it is a special Thursday edition of our show. I apologize for not being on Tuesday and also not being on tomorrow, Friday, because I'm going to be downtown San Diego with some friends of ours who are about to go on a cruise to the eclipse in the Sinaloa region of Mexico. They're going to be sitting off the coast of Mazatlan on the 8th of April to watch the total eclipse for 4 minutes and 26 seconds of totality. Whereas yours truly, who we decided not to go anywhere, we were going to think about going to Austin or someplace like that, didn't make it. So I'm cool with that, because being trapped on a ship and not potentially being able to see the eclipse would have probably been worse, because that's the only reason you're going on the cruise at this point. So yeah, glad I'm here. So it's been the week kind of started like this, and then took a nosedive, and then took an even deeper nosedive, and then this morning came really up. I think not almost back to where we were, but if I started the week here, I'm probably right about here on the, how did the end of the weekend? So, yeah. It's funny. I just got into a discussion with this on LinkedIn about filler words with Stuart Mitchell, who hopefully all of you have had a chance to see that stream. Where we talk about his recruiting and how Hampton North does their business. So, anywho, to add to my troubles, what caused the nosedive for me, which actually didn't end up being a nosedive. Short story, long story short, I had a meeting with a potential guest, and actually it's not a potential guest. We will have Mary on in 2 weeks' time. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I had I think almost a 45-minute conversation with Mary and the PR person from Goldie Knox, which, just for, we're going to show you what Goldie Knox is. There we go. Oh, whoops. Goldie Knox. There we go. And so, kind of a cool site. And so they are a consulting firm made up of a friend of mine who used to work with me at Leviathan, and Mary Gardner, who is working, to create security, compliance, and privacy. So it's almost like a virtual CISO kind of thing. We'll definitely talk with Mary about this. Between her and Kayla, they've had, I don't know, probably 2 decades worth of experience, and their new organization, they're up and coming, and it sounds like an excellent organization to deal with. So I had an initial meeting with Mary and with Onyx, who's their PR person and now is their head of media creation. So congratulations, Onyx. And I got it into my head that we'd already had the podcast or the stream with Mary, and it had apparently, I thought, had been sitting in my YouTube the whole time, because I stream onto YouTube, and I Twitch here, that kind of thing. And I had gotten it into my head that I needed to push that out. And Onyx had reached out to me and said, "Hey, prepping for the release of the marketing stuff for this, and wanted to see, what you needed for that." And I was like, oh, and I read her note, and I was like, oh crap, okay, I need to process that, tonight, make sure it's ready for a podcast, or update that for the stream, because I thought I'd unlisted it into YouTube. So I go into YouTube, and there's nothing there. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll just go and grab it off of Twitch. Oh, crap. I don't have affiliate status per se anymore. So I don't keep the videos on Twitch like I used to, and they delete themselves after 2 weeks. So mild panic started setting in. And I thought, well, maybe I downloaded the video like I normally do with my workflows and punched it up into my Google Drive where I keep my project videos, the originals before I edit them in DaVinci. Nothing there. And now, my ass starts sweating, right? I had thought I had recorded this 45-minute interview with Mary and Onyx, and talking about, because I knew we had talked about a lot of different topics that we could bring up and those things, but it didn't hit me that it was just an introductory call or a pre-call to this, which we have done with other guests, but for some reason I had it in my head that we'd already done this, and so I'm freaking out, right? I'm like, oh my God, this is the first time that we've ever, and I mean ever, in 10 years of the show and the podcast and the audio bits, I've ever lost a show, right? I didn't know what to tell her. I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta tell them something, it's gone, right? It's not just, hey, I've lost it or whatever. It's gone, right? It was on Twitch and it's no longer there and it's gone, right? Because I don't know what happened. The days were blurring and it was February around 22nd, 23rd. And, I was like, well, maybe I could just say my computer shit the bed or, something, whatever. And it ruined the rest of my day, really. I was like, what the hell am I going to do? And I didn't answer her immediately because my immediate thought was, crap, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Are they going to hate me? Am I going to, what the hell's going to happen? And it's one of those things. So there are a couple times in my life where I can point to the fact where I could have said something that was an untruth, or said something that was, told the truth and dealt with the consequences. And so I went to sleep last night, got up the next day, sitting here having my cup of coffee, and I basically told Onyx, hey, I'm sorry, I don't have the video. It's gone. It's like gone. Twitch deleted it. I don't have it in my YouTube. I thought I had saved it to my YouTube and whatever. And I'm really, really sorry. I'd love to reschedule another recording so that way we can have something for y'all. I treat it as a sponsored kind of thing where it'd be like, hey, let's talk about Goldilocks. And we're actually going to do that on the next show because I think they're just a pretty cool company. And so, so I'm sitting here and I told everybody on our Slack. So if you're watching this stream, you saw the exact same thing I just said on the Slack in the stream. I was waiting for the response on LinkedIn. I was like, my ass was sweating. I had to shut the tab off because I was like, I don't want to even see the response on LinkedIn because I was expecting to be read the riot act and, saying, hey, WTF, what kind of, Bush League people are you? And so I look at, I noticed that I got a notification on my phone from LinkedIn. And I was like, oh, crap. Okay. So get on my phone and she's like, hey, Brian, sorry to hear about the recording. It happens. I don't remember us having another meeting scheduled, and I didn't know that you'd actually reached out to Mary and had anything past the 23rd of February. And when during, she said, I don't remember us having any more conversations or any other recordings scheduled after the 23rd when we had our introductory call or something like it was. I'm paraphrasing, but when I read her response, I was like, oh, right. We haven't recorded the show yet. We just talked about so many different things with regard to what we'd planned on talking about. It felt like a show to me. And the minute I remembered that it was not a podcast episode or a stream episode, it was like, so much stuff being taken off my shoulders at that point. And then, of course, the embarrassment set in because I was an idiot and I basically told everybody in Slack and everybody, Onyx and everybody about, that I'm an idiot and I'm scatterbrain, and apparently I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So then the embarrassment of that set in, which, is always fun. But I can live with that. Who hasn't been embarrassed? So yeah, to one person's point, I should probably create now, after 10 plus years, create some kind of project checklist to, go through our process on how we get people in. So I'm actually working on that now to help with that. We started doing things like, show outlines. So now we have a show outline that we use for podcasts and for guests to be able to add things like show notes and what have you. And so, actually, our friend John Arone told us about this. So, and what you can see right here is, this is actually the show outline for Mary Gardner. No information of hers in here, but, talking about some of the disclaimers. So ideally what we do is we just copy paste all of this into, our show notes in, hopefully I'll add this to our YouTube as well, but it'll be, our podcast notes that we get on Libsyn. And, I add where the YouTube VOD will be and a short summary and, topics of discussion and any kind of additional questions or comments or concerns, kind of like how we did with Kevin Johnson last Sunday. And, so what I'm going to do is either add a checklist in here where it's going to be like, initial conversations, and then have like, a table or something where it's got the status of that, and then, what day that was and whatever, down to, all the way down to recorded and, recorded show, and then, published show on Libsyn, something like that. So that will help keep my sanity in place, because initial conversations, it'd be like pre-call, that kind of thing, email invite, confirmed a date, that kind of stuff. So having those kinds of tasks will probably help me so that I don't do this again. Granted, it was the first time in like 10 years where I even had the sweet chill of death upon my person, where I thought I had completely effed up a show. And, if I'd lost a show, and it was not to diminish Mr. Betcher and Miss Berlin and myself's contribution, but if I lost a show that was just us three, then I wouldn't feel so bad. But it would have been a interview, then that would have been far worse. So, that's my nightmare scenario is that. So, So yeah, it was great. Onyx was awesome. Replied back and said, "Hey, I appreciate the honesty. I assume that she. I don't want to say I assume. I don't assume that too much, but I don't think I could have lied convincingly that way, and I think it would have probably just sucked worse. So, honesty is the best policy, folks. Sometimes, even if it sucks ass to say that you messed up. So just something to think about when you're going through this stuff. So also, I will put this up if you want to go and look up their stuff. We will be recording this episode on April 7th with Mary and them. But just to give you a little heads up, that's in 2 weeks. So this weekend, I am going to be at B-Sides San Diego, and I'm going to be gooning. So I will be running security instead of doing things like villages or, doing interviews or what have you. For those of you who are big Twitch fans, Taggart, MT Taggart's going to be there. He's going to be giving a training. I think all of the trainings, and I know all the tickets have been sold out to the point where I think they were hitting people up on Twitch saying, or not Twitch, but Twitter saying, "Hey, if you have any spare tickets, what was it? They said, yeah, since we sold out, people have contacted us looking for tickets. If you can't make it, tag us or let us know in a post." We're very much like the ShmooCon of the West Coast now, I think. Nobody wants to go to RSA, and, because it's not really a security conference. B-Sides is it. I think we sold out all 400 tickets a week and a half ago. So it's really good to see that. We're going to be at the SDSU campus. So for those of you who are interested, don't show up if you want to try to get into the conference and you don't have a ticket, because you will probably not be, you will not gain admission. But yeah, so we're going to be in the SDSU campus. If you want to set up some kind of, after event or something like that, that's fine. That'd be something you can do as well. As you can see, we are a sponsor. Yeah. It's the icon works better if I had a black background, but I sent them the transparent one, not thinking that they would post it up on the web page, and that's my bad. I'm gonna own that. It's kind of cool. Jack in the Box, which is headquartered, like I said, in San Diego, is one of our sponsors. I'm on the same level as Jack in the Box, everybody. It's pretty awesome. And of course, Secure Ideas, Kevin Johnson, of course, we had him on last Sunday, is also a sponsor as well. GitHub, Intuit, and SDSU supplied us with the venue, of course, and is one of the big sponsors of this. So pretty awesome. Glad they could do that for us. I'm looking forward to gooning this weekend. It's interesting. I was talking with Nick Fury, who's the head of security for the event, I went to the volunteer briefing, because that's what you do when you're volunteering at a conference, and they put up a meeting saying, hey, you should volunteer, and if you're volunteering, come to the meeting. So he said that it's not going to be a lot of security. It's going to be, hey, you're going to be standing there pointing directions towards where things are, for instance. And he's done, DerbyCon. He does gooning at DEF CON as well. So it was, it was good to see. And it's interesting to hear that dynamic that, it's nice to be security but not be used, right? It's nice to just, I'd rather sit and point directions of where to go and tell people where they need to be, or where track 2 is, versus having to break up a fight or something like that. I mean, it's not Roadhouse, obviously, but it's hopefully it'll be not stressful. It was funny, I did after the after the volunteer meeting, I asked the question, because all the security people I saw were of a certain gender, and not, other genderless folks. And I was like, hey, what happens if something happens in a bathroom that we can't go into? And he's like, I was like, who do we call? And it was like, I'm hardwired. I can't go into a bathroom that isn't the one that I've been going into for 45 years, 45.03 years. It's just, I've done it a handful of times, but it was completely by accident. And it was like, immediately I knew something was up. It was like, oh, wait, no urinals, crap. Okay. And then, scoot right on out. But, I was like, what happens if, we need assistance from somebody who's not a dude? And that was something they were investigating, which is always good to see us trying to improve those processes. So I'm really excited about seeing what this means, and I'm looking forward to next stream when we'll be talking with that. I'm hoping that I can get some time with Kevin, but I don't know what my job entails. But I'm gonna say hi to him, obviously, but I won't be able to sit down and have an interview with him, because I just spent an hour and a half with him, and me and Mr. Betcher talking about OWASP and things like that. So speaking of that, the discussion we had with him, quite interesting. He talked about OWASP, kind of like being an open source organization. It's like there's only 7,000 people in OWASP, compared to how many people are in ISC squared. count. Yeah, ISC squared has 600,000 members. Now, I understand the mission of ISC squared and OWASP are completely different. One is I would say, a certifying authority for things like CSSP, which I have one. Technically still in good standing. I long for the day where I can just tell them to go, stick it where the sun doesn't shine, because I'm not happy with the politics of ISC squared right now. But it's handcuffs, right? It's the exact, it's the certification that is on a lot of, on a lot of job descriptions. So it's a necessary evil for me right now still. So, but yeah, they have 600,000 members, more than 600,000 members. And yeah, it's found as of 2023, they have 500,000 plus, but they say they have 600,000 on their about page. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was interesting to hear Kevin talk about, and he's not on the board. That's what he said. The member at large is something else. It's like a, not on the board, but he's still a member of the ruling cabal or whatever it is that they have. That and so it was interesting to hear about the dynamics of OWASP and all of the projects that they do and the things that we actually benefit from that we don't actually give back to, right? ASVS, which, application security verification standards. There's, they have OWASP ZAP, which I believe is no longer a part of OWASP. I think it's actually been broke off. Yeah, I think they've taken it out of. Yeah. Oh, okay. Actively maintained by an international team of volunteers. And the global discussions that happen with 7,000 members of OWASP. I mean, in the vast scheme of things, 7,000 people in an organization or a community is not a lot of people. So you could potentially make your mark there or volunteer for something that's actually of great benefit to them if you were willing to do that. And as I mentioned to him, I was like, oh, I can't code for anything. He's like, yeah, you don't have to code. You can do things like bug reports or, help out with RFCs or, those kinds of things. So it was nice to hear that I actually could do some if I wanted to. If I had the time or found a project that was something I was interested in. So, it also probably looks good if you're a contributor to that community in the grand scheme of things, especially for your career kind of thing. They might also, if you've got a good idea for a product, or not a product but a project or something, you might want to help out with, or get help, put out a document to get that process started in OWASP. So let me see. Yeah, they've got some stuff going on. Oh yeah, he said he was going to be at the OWASP chapter meeting in Austin, Texas on the 26th. So he will be there. Oh, looks like they've got an Eventbrite link. So here's the, oh, okay. I do have, their auth page is busted. The fill-in doesn't work, so you have to go in and, there we go. There we go. So yeah, so Jeff Williams is the speaker. Oh, I think I may have said something to him on LinkedIn recently. This is supposed to be the one, but I see, yeah, on the 26th. Okay. Oh, maybe it's something else here. Maybe this is it. Well, they have a project calendar on OWASP if you want to get involved. Looks like they have different events or things that are available. OWASP Basque Boston on the 6th of April. That's pretty sweet. Let me see what else. The 12th of, oh no, it's too late. Yeah, they have a chapter committee meeting. Oh, looks like you can join it via something like Zoom. Okay. Huh. I wonder if they know that they put their, yeah, anyway. Yeah, and then another project meeting there. So, huh, very cool. So, yeah, I mean, there's a ton of stuff that you could do or help out with. They're probably always looking for volunteers. So, take a look and see what you can do to, help out if you want to do that. And like I said, it looks good on a resume. So, the noises you're hearing in the background is the people coming to do what they call pebbling my swimming pool today. So I've we're almost done with our backyard. And what is it? My co-host is here. You're a little late. No, you're a lot late. What's going on? Well, you get up here. Come on. Right here. Yeah, there you go. Okay. What? Oh my goodness. Well, you're a little short. You want to get up here on the table? Get up on the desk? All right. Well, you just stay right there, okay? Let me see. Oh, yeah, some sad news. Oh, there you go. Okay, you get up there and sit down. You're gonna get up there. There you go. Good job, baby. All right. Daniel Kahneman. Some of you may have heard us talking about him on the show. And he is or was a behavioral psychologist, a Nobel laureate, got a Nobel Prize in, I believe, economics. Yeah, economics. On groundbreaking behavioral science research. So he wrote a book that Mr. Betcher told me about 4 or 5 years ago. So probably longer than that. It's before the pandemic because I think I read it during the pandemic. It was called Thinking Fast and Slow. And this was the book right here. If you want to take a look at it and listen to it, or you can read it. I have it in audiobook. Patrick Egan, I did not find to be a very good audio narrator. So I think it was probably my first audiobook, which kind of sucked. But yeah, this was an interesting book. It was a study in behavioral psychology, economics, and happiness studies. He's actually wrote a book with somebody else in 2021, just, probably one of the last ones he did. Let's see, where was it? I bought the damn book. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. Flaws in Human Judgment. And it's interesting because the scenario that they suggest here for this was very similar to one that had been called out in Thinking Fast and Slow about if you are, he gave an example of data that had been collected where if you were, let's say you had committed a crime, and not a major one, but like it, let's say you were robbing a store, okay? You had your trial, you were found guilty, you come back the next day with the idea that you're going to be sentenced, and there was actually data that showed, depending on the time of day that your case was done, judges would have or be setting different punishments, different, lengths of time. So right after breakfast, where the judge, may have had his coffee, or may have had their coffee, not to pronoun anything specifically. When the judge made their decision, you may get 3 to 5 years. But if it's just before lunch or at the end of the day, and it's been a long day, and depending on other factors, the judge may decide, 5 to 7 years. And it was interesting to see the dynamics there, the discussion from in the book about how that human judgment can be changed by something simple as time of day, and I think we see that with when people are saying, I'm out of spoons, I'm out of energy by the end of the day. Some of the best times to socially engineer people is at the end of the day because, they're watching their clocks. They want to get the hell out of the office, or they want to get out of work. If they're not at an office, they're working from home. They'd be more likely to click on a link that will, okay, yeah, click on this link for training. Okay, great. I just want to get this shit over with. I want to go home. They'll make decisions that are not necessarily based in logic, but based in emotion. And we see some of that I think we saw some of that a lot with when the attribution arguments and Twitter was going on, where it's like, oh, well, they analyzed this malware and it's got Russian in it, so obviously it must have been a bear, or, instead of a panda. And, people are like, you can't make snap judgments like that. You've got to, and then find out that, it was a really bad Russian translation and it was actually not a bear. It was potentially a panda, or, a chicharron, or whatever I forget what the name of the one that chicharrons are not, chicharrons are not, well, they were pigs at one time, but CrowdStrike was Kalima, not a chicharron. Labyrinth chicharron. No. A Kalima, I think, is like a weasel or something that they have as indicative of their area, but Labyrinth Kalima, okay. But it was just interesting to see that. Anyway, he passed away at age 90 on the 27th of March, and the story goes through at Princeton EDU and talks about a lot of that. There was a long form article from the Atlantic with somebody who had interviewed him when he was like 25, and it was a very nice long form discussion about Daniel Kahneman and his work on these kinds of things. His work inspired a new generation of researchers in economics and finance to enrich economic theory from cognitive psychology into intrinsic human motivation. He shared the Nobel, formerly the Riksbank Prize in Economic Sciences, with economist Vernon Smith. And so, he lived a long time. I mean, he escaped the Nazis. He was born in Tel Aviv in 1948, British-controlled Palestine, immigrated there before moving after escaping Nazi occupation in World War II in France. So, he served in the IDF and trained as a psychologist. And he was actually, in his book, I think he talked about the 15 to 20 minute conversation that he would have with each soldier to decide where they needed to be as part of like a job assignment or something. And he was, saying that the questions they were asking were not good. And they, here's what he suggested, and actually made it more efficient. But he talks about, honors and mentions and everything. But it was just an interesting book if you have a chance to ever read it. The Thinking Fast and Slow book. I just bought this one on audiobook. Who's the narrator? Okay, Jonathan. It's a different narrator this time, so that's good. But if you have a chance to read this, and if you read it from a security point of view, or like a why am I making this decision point of view, it's very interesting. It's the fast and slow part is system 1 and system 2 thinking, right? And one is based on emotion and like snap conclusions based on initial data versus, slow down, analyze. Maybe while you're analyzing, you'll have more data and more information, and then you'll make that snap judgment. Not to bring this into modern day, but there was a lot of people doing that kind of thing when the John Francis Scott Key Bridge was taken down by the container ship just recently. And you see that a lot with other major events too. It's like, got armchair quarterbacks, you got people who are making snap judgments about things, when in fact, it's cool to have an opinion, but depending on your influence or your what's going on, that can actually influence other people, and it just keeps going down the road. So so yeah, that's it's sad because he wrote this in 2011, but I think it's one of those evergreen topics, unless somebody can come by and say he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. But yeah, system 1 is fast, intuitive, and emotional. System 2 is slower, more deliberate, and more logical. Examining how both systems functions exposes the extraordinary capabilities as well as the biases of fast thinking and the pervasive influence of intuitive impressions on our thoughts and our choices. That's where you get your gut reaction kind of thing. It's like, okay, I'm gonna boom, I've got this, and that's that's kind of more your your snap judgment kind of thing. What's this? Okay. So yeah, it's really good. And when you purchase this title, accompanying PDF will be available in your Audible library along with the audio. Oh, so I have a PDF of this somewhere. Interesting. Okay, I didn't realize he'd given me the book along with the audio book when I had it. So, but yeah, I also I picked up the new book. It wasn't completely written by Daniel Kahneman, but it seems like it was building upon that, kind of like the Goal, another one that Mr. Betcher actually Goal, yeah. Elliot Goldratt, yes. Maybe he meant Goldrat. I told Mr. Betcher, Professor Kahneman passed away. He said, "Oh, they're both gone." And I was like, "Well, yes, his wife passed away in 2018, but I don't think that's what I meant. I don't think that's what he meant now. I think he meant Eliyahu M. Goldratt had passed away." This is an interesting book. It's a bit dated. The references in there are a bit dated, and when you listen to the audiobook, some of the things about the guy going to work and coming home to his lovely wife who's in the home and whatever, some of the stuff's a little bit dated, but if you get past all the bullshit of that and realize it was written of its time because it's the 30th anniversary edition, which this was written in, I don't know, let me see, 1984. So 1984, then, but I think a lot of it is still true about improvement and finding the weaknesses in your processes or where you've got gaps or bottlenecks and fixing those bottlenecks. What's I actually have some of that going on at work right now too. It might be helpful to go back and look at theory of some of the theories in this one as well. So, yeah. So, and he actually had a number of them. Critical chain was another one that he did. Not that one. Critical chain, project management theory, constraints. The Goal, actually, if you know the Phoenix Project, which was written by, and the Phoenix and the Unicorn Project were very similar books in the same kind of vein, written by Gene Kim, Kevin Bear, and them. That is not the Phoenix Project. This is the Phoenix Project. And I read this one, Beyond the Phoenix Project, as well. The Unicorn Project. Yeah, I read that one too. This is not the right ones. Make sure you get the right ones. But yeah, so these two books are actually interesting. I found the Phoenix Project probably a little more applicable to this one than this one. But both of them are still really nice if you want to read about disruption. It would be interesting to see how well they stand up, post pandemic, or if when businesses have been changed. So the 3 ways, as described in the DevOps handbook. So yeah, good stuff if you are interested in those. The audiobooks were actually quite good. I think they had two people reading these books. So it was almost like a voice cast, but let me see. They have 2 people. No. Oh, Chris. Okay, so he did the Phoenix Project and Unicorn. Oh, okay. So it only had one person. Weird. Wonder which one I was thinking about. So yeah. Um, see the filler words there. That's why I stopped doing that. Booked my travel for Dublin in June. So anybody who's in Dublin, I will be flying in the morning of the 23rd, which is a Sunday morning. I did that for two reasons. One, it will give me time to get over jet lag before Monday morning, which I'm assuming that whole week is going to be just chock-a-block full of freaking meetings. I do understand we're going to have some outings or some off-site stuff that we're going to be able to do, but the other thing is I just wanted to kind of walk around downtown Dublin to just see what there is to see, maybe have a pint of Guinness. Yeah, so yeah, we're gonna be down here in this area of Dublin, and go down to see St. Patrick's Cathedral, St. Stephen's Green. I don't know how far Temple Bar Pub, of course, is historical pub in that area. Of course, you see all the people with their freaking bags. All of those are Americans, probably, because apparently, according to the write-up here, I think they said, "Oh, it's good. It's a good place for Americans to go." And I was like, "Man, I don't want to go to a place with where Americans are going to be hanging out." But it's a staple. It's like a landmark. So I'll go in, maybe see some stuff. Maybe I'll get a whiskey or something. I don't know if those are expensive prices, 17 euro. So they probably are. They're probably, American prices. So the other place I was wanting to go to was the Brazen Head, which is was built in the 11th century, and it's a little further over here. Oldest pub. Yeah, this one was built in, I believe, the 11th century, which is before even the Crusades. Like, not all the Crusades, but like 3 of them, I think. So it's ancient. So honestly, I don't know how walkable the city is. I'd imagine it is fairly walkable, but you don't go to Ireland and ask to get pizza. So also trying to find some local places in the area that you can go to that are legit, Irish places. So, Hard Rock Cafe. There you go. We'll go to Hard Rock. But yeah, so just, what's this? Old Mill. Oh, Old Mill Restaurant. Okay. Traditional Irish. Oh, yes. Let's see what the menu is all about there. Yes. There we go. Starter. Okay. Guinness stew. Okay. Fish and chips. I've had fish and chips on New Zealand. I had a nice cod there. Australia. Went to Canada and had fish and chips. Didn't have it when we were in Scotland, but yeah, bangers and mash. Okay. Mushy peas. Ooh, brown bread and butter. Okay. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Oh, what do we got? Do we got a proper English fry up or Irish fry up here? There we go. I love baked beans for breakfast. So yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I got pudding. Yeah. Okay. Black white pudding, sausages, bacon. Oh yeah. Yeah. Daddy like. We're gonna have to do that. We're definitely gonna have to do that. Yes. Sorry, I'm probably boring my viewer to tears, but I haven't been to Ireland before, and I really love. I'm an Irophile. Iereophile. I like the music. I've been a fan of the Irish and Celtic music podcast for a decade or better now. So, vegetable soup. chive mash, brown bread, Bailey's ice cream. Interesting. Brown bread and ice cream. Did not know that that was a thing. Okay. What I love to do, especially for now that we have the Google Maps, is look at the streets and see what it's like. Oh, okay, it's quite small. Okay. And we got Temple Takeout. Okay, this is. Oh, that's not too bad. Yeah, I can do that. Very cool. Oh, we got chips. Okay, taco chips, cheese garlic chips, curry chips, sausages and chips. They like their chips. So somebody must be walking with this. I can imagine somebody with like a freaking GoPro sticking on their heads. What's this? Keys bar. Okay. Jameson. That's what I was thinking about. See, gotta get some Guinness. Gotta get some Jamesons. Probably don't ask for any. What's this? The other thing I like to know in a foreign city is where the embassy is for the U.S. Which, hey, Digital Warhead. No, I was just talking about my work travel that has been confirmed for Dublin and this is Dublin. So this is we're in County Dublin at the Temple Bar. But yeah, so I was telling the other listener or watcher before you showed up that I'm leaving Saturday night from San Diego to fly to Washington, IAD Dulles, and then I'm flying to. Yeah, I've always wanted to go to Ireland too. My wife is super fucking jealous because I get to go and her family is like from there, right? The Harrington clan is literally from like County Cork. So, but yeah, so I'm going to be staying in this particular area of Dublin, and our offices are somewhere in this area, and so was looking for the nearest U.S. embassy. So this is all the embassy road down here, where you see all the various embassies. And I believe the U.S. embassy is down here. So not too far away, but it's always good in a foreign country to know where your embassy is. It was very easy for us in when Rome. I love Rome. Rome is freaking amazing. Rome, we stayed at, where was it? Okay, so here's Trevi Fountains, Via Borghese. Okay, yes. Yeah, we went there. Huxton, where's the Capuchin monks? Let's see, Yellow Square, Roma, Osamar. Okay, yes, I remember them. It's got to be like right here. Yeah. So I walked all over to the museum, but yeah, the U.S. embassy in Rome was right next to there it is, Ludovici. That's it, Ludovici. Yeah, see, I just hadn't gone too far down. So you can see where every place I went to, where all of our different places on where I marked on here. But our hotel was the Westin Excelsior, and the compound for the embassy in Rome is like right there. So, yep, there it is. I walked past this. Those two guards were standing. Well, they weren't the same people, but yeah, that were right there. That's the embassy right there, and that was our hotel where we stayed. And there's actually a nice little restaurant right down the street this way. If you go down this road here, you had to drive a little, or I had to walk a little bit, but yeah, I do too. I actually, I'm awful about it, but it was 100 degrees because I think we went in August. But Ludovici Palace. I ended up finding some of the other embassies in the area, including I think the United Arab Emirates, which was over in this area. But yeah, I love I love also to star the places that I've been in the cities, because what happened was I would go walking from the hotel because it was like 95 degrees, so we'd have breakfast. And yeah, it's fun. Yeah, and now that they have like street view and stuff like that, so I'd start walking from like the Westin, and I walked down here, walked down to where the bus station was, and all this area. There's a huge bus station down here, the Piazza della Repubblica. Yep, here's the bus station, Termini Station. We actually stayed at the Best Western the last time we were there. I just haven't marked it yet, but this is actually a surprisingly nice hotel, because we stayed there in 2011, I think. Our cruise organizer was like, "Oh yeah, we're staying in the Best Western." I'm like, "Seriously, Best Western?" Really nice hotel. And it was really close to Termini Station, which is this terminal you would take to go to the airport. And so, yeah, here's the big train station, and we got on there, and this is when we took the train up to Genoa, Savona, to get on our cruise in 2011, 2012. So, but yeah, it was really nice. Yeah, I love Rome. I walked around Rome to the point where I got lost, and then it was like, okay, now I need to go into Google Maps and, pick my point and then walk back. So, I walked over to the Trevi Fountains. Oh no, here's the Best Western. Sorry, my bad. You walk down. I think I got all the way down here. Yeah, I think I got this far. So, but yeah, I walked several miles that day, and it was just fun to go in and out and in between the buildings and during the day and whatever. And you come back when it gets too warm. I tried to walk all the way to the Coliseum, but it was just too damned hot. I think I made it all the way down to the Forum. Yeah, we made it all the way down to the Forum, but it was just too damned hot. And yeah, you can almost see the walking tour that we did. And then we did the Capuchin monks again, which definitely got an upgrade since the last time we were there. But yeah, but anyway, I'm going to Dublin. It's going to be awesome. Going to go see Temple Bar, where everybody kind of goes if they're a tourist. But yeah, I want to get in on Sunday. I'm going to be jet lagging like a mofo, because it'll be like 2 a.m. my time, body time, but it'll be 10 a.m. Dublin time. Go walk around a little bit. Go grab a Jameson or Guinness, and go do a little sightseeing on my feet while I'm looking around. So yeah, good times. So yep, I'll have some stuff in here too. So yeah, I think one of the suggestions was we were going to go up to County Meath. There's a farm up here in County Meath where you can. Oh yeah, Curragh Farm. There it is. Matter of fact. Yeah, the farm. Okay. They do like team building events at this place, which I found interesting for folks that have never been at a farm. So, is this it? Yes, I think so. No, that's not it. Yeah, there's a farm up in this area that does like team building events, and you can go and do those. And that was one of the things that was thought of. Is I don't know. I don't know digital. I don't. I would hope. I would hope so. I mean, we are. I believe I'm actually staying here at the Temple Bar Inn, which is down the street from Temple Bar. Or is it the hotel? No, it's the hotel. No, that's not it. Nope, it's this one here. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I'm staying at this hotel, which is down the street from, Temple Bar, the bar. And then our hotel, our work offices are somewhere in this area. There's Trinity College. So, yeah, our offices are somewhere in this area without divulging who or where I work, but not LinkedIn. I don't work at LinkedIn, but their offices are here. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I don't know. I actually have, I've actually been on reddit.com/Dublin. And one of the things they ask, I think, people is, don't, try to be nice, about, obviously if you, come in here and you've got locals in here, they're going to say, it's complete shite or whatever. But yeah, it was just interesting to see if there was, any information about areas that might be safe or whatever. So yeah, at some point I'll ask, but I've still got about 85 days until I go. So, but yeah. Okay, so I actually have one other thing. This was a huge derail, which I'm just really excited about going, even though I'm kind of weirding out because it'll be the first time I've ever done a transatlantic business flight without the family. Every time we've ever gone transatlantic, it's been with the family, or with my wife. So yeah, it's something that come up. So let me see. So there's vulnerabilities out there, and I found this dark reading article, and I found it quite interesting because I don't think I've ever seen an article formatted this way. I don't normally see, and this is actually quite nice because it does give you some good tips about how what kind of plane you'll be flying over there in. I'm not really overly concerned about whether or not it's a MAX or not. I guess I could look. I didn't really care. I was kind of more worried about the times, being able to get there, because I'm going to be leaving at I think 10 in the morning from San Diego, flying to Dulles IAD in DC, and I've got a 3-hour layover, and then I'm flying another 7 hours over to Dublin. So it ain't gonna be a 737. I've always wanted to fly in a 747. Yeah, I don't know what the type of plane is. It's, I understand that there's some MAX anxiety out there where people are like, I don't want to fly in a MAX, 700, 800, 900, but oh, okay. I didn't know that. I do know that the plane flying from San Diego to Washington, D.C. is larger than the plane that they've scheduled for the Washington, D.C. flight to Dublin. It's like the San Diego has a 343 configuration, and the flight going from Dulles is like a 33 connection. So, given our military and government contractor stuff that goes on down here with all the military, I'm not surprised by that. So, but yeah, it's a nice fat plane. Let me see if I can figure out which one that is. Oh, I sent it to my other email here. So, thank you for your purchase with United. I upgraded my seats because it's business travel, so they won't allow you things like amenities like extra leg room. So I paid the $2,000 for the where my knees will be up around my ears and everything, seats, and then I went back in and paid for another $140 worth of extra legroom seats, and also at closer to the front of the plane, so that way I can beat the heat and get through customs quicker. It is that's the wrong email. Itinerary, there it is. Okay, so I will be flying in they don't say. Interesting. United does not tell you what kind of plane in your invoice, but yeah. Huh. Maybe they don't want you to know because it's subject to change. I don't know. You might book a flight specifically for a specific type of plane, but then you get there and you find out it's not correct. And I've seen news stories like that where somebody's like, "Oh, I didn't want to fly on a MAX plane because I was worried about dying." And I'm like, they fly thousands of those a day. They're not like they're falling out of the sky, out of habit or whatever. So, yeah, I don't have that. So yeah, it's probably, like you said, probably a 747. But yeah, the plane going from San Diego to Dulles it's wide body. It's got 4 in the middle, 3 and 3, and I was like, shit. So yeah, always upgrade to an aisle seat. I can't have a window seat anymore. I learned the hard way on that. So so anyway, this is an interesting story from Dark Reading. This person, Dotan Nahum, developer First Security. talks about the SSH vulnerability. 2023-48795. So SSH transport protocol, certain extensions found in OpenSSH allow remote attackers to bypass integrity checks such that some packets are omitted from the extension negotiation message, and a client or server may subsequently end up with a connection for which some security features may have been downgraded or disabled, aka a terrapin attack, which I've never heard of before. This occurs because the binary packet protocol, or BPP, implemented by some extensions mishandles the handshake and mishandles the use of sequence numbers. For example, an effective attack use of cha-cha-20 poly 1305 and CBC with encrypt then MAC occurs in. So yeah, there's a holy shit. So there's a lot of configurations where this is a possibility. Including libSSH, it's in libSSH, libSSH2, Thorntech SFTP gateway, pfSense. So if you have a NetGate pfSense up through 272, secure CRT, Bitvice SSH client. So anything that uses maybe cha-cha poly and anything with CBC, encrypt then MAC type connections. So. Oh, WinSCP. Yeah, there's another one. So update your WinSCP if you're using that instead of, file. Oh, nope, FileZilla's in there. FileZilla's in there as well. So yeah, it depends on, I guess, which version of ciphers you're using, right? So person mentions it affects all SSH connections that use specific configurations. And it allows a man in the adversary in the middle attack to interfere with the handshake process. And the attacker can exploit the vulnerability to cut critical parts of the exchange without disrupting the SSH connection. So yeah, if instead of an integrity check, it's going to say, okay, I don't need to do the integrity check because I am who I say I am. Okay, yeah, this is good, that kind of thing. And it says it allows attackers to downgrade secure algorithms. So yeah, downgrading to something that could allow then to intercept or decrypt comms is definitely a possibility. Are you back? Well, you get up here. Come on. Well, come on. Well, get up here. Come on. We're causing dead air. Well, get up here. Come on. I'll give you magic fingers. There we go. Okay. All right. Yes, you caused a denial of stream attack. I know. You are an adversary. You're an adversary. Meow. Exactly. So you can obviously go in to your. Oh, I didn't realize I was sharing the entire screen. So again, I'm an idiot. So I have my WSL connection up, and I imagine that this would also affect WSL connections as well. So if you go SSH-Q cipher, you can see which. Oh, looky. Oh, that's not good. I've got certain ciphers that are probably not supposed to be used. Oh, and I've also got triple des in here. The fuck? Oh my god. Okay, so yeah, look specifically for this or any cipher block. CB. Oh my god, and remove them. Jesus. Okay, so that's bad. That's bad. That's not good. So I have CBC ciphers and I have cha-cha-20 poly 1305. I remember when this was like the new hotness and everybody was like, oh yeah, use that. Obviously, I think the only one you want to use is that. Oh, you know what's? I remember 256. 1 second. No. Okay, so where's my Slack? We'll go back to the Terrapin thing. So, where is it? Panera, yeah. Up there it is. Okay. we've got that too for later here. So, all right. So now you can go to your SSH config files and look for lines like ciphers, AES-256 CTR, 192 CTR, AES-128 CTR, and remove them. Well, it feels like I need to remove those because they are actually in there. So that's stupid. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Now, the one thing I will say is before you go and do this, removing these ciphers from your SSH config file, you want to double check and make sure that you can still connect to all of the systems that you need to, because I'm not saying you will, but there are older systems on your network, especially at work, that may not have the newest ciphers. And if your only option to connect to that system is a CTR cipher, say even 128, or God forbid you're still using triple des or something like that, by removing it from the server or removing it from the client, you could cause yourself some issues, like not being able to then connect ever again to your system. Unless you go drive to the data center or you drive into your what used to be work, or you have Bob from accounting go in and reset the server or something. So just before you make any changes to something like this, especially for something that affects remote connectivity, double check that both ends can still support the connections. Before you remove these things. So yeah, let's go VI. Let's see. You are in the way. Okay. Here, excuse. There we go. See? Isn't that better? Isn't that better? All right. So what we want to do is go down here. Look for anything not commented out. The hashtags, or the octothorpes in this case, are specific to that. I don't see anything so far. Okay, I don't see anything out of the ordinary. Huh. It's really weird. Yeah. Okay. The other thing is, they suggest in here running an SSH client and server version check. You can do that too. Behold my powers, I can exit VI. And so SSHD. So I have 9.2, OpenSSL 3.011. So this is great. This is fine, except some Linux versions do what they call backporting of their fixes. So, Debian ships, Debian ships with OpenSSH 9.2, P25, for instance. The version number, like this flag won't change. So 9.2 is always there. The interesting thing is, in your Debian versions, what'll happen is actual OpenSSH will go to 9.3. But because, Ubuntu and those ones that have like long-term support have to support fixes that way, your OpenSSH version may always say 9.2 when you do the -v for the banner, but the patch version that you get from the package will be like 9.2 P25. And that will equate to OpenSSL 9.3.3 or something like that. And I had a hell of a time with that when I was, a wee infosec person, trying to help auditors and people explain about backporting of patches and trying to figure out what the equivalency was there. It's like, look, we're fully patched. No, you're not. It says 9.2. It's like, backporting, bitches, backporting. So helping them understand that was trying, because I think documentation has gotten better on the backporting stuff, but yeah, it was very difficult to do that. So yeah, see, like if I don't have 9.6 P1 being patch 1 for 9.6 instead of 9.7 or something like that, that's good. And so I read through this article. There's a couple things I did have issue with. The number 3 and number 10. Number 10 obviously isn't buy our shitty product, which is great to see. But they mentioned using tools like OpenVAS or Nessus. Again, you're going to run into that problem where Nessus is just going to run this and go, oh, look, you're not up to date. Patch. And then you're going to have to go in and go, no, stupid scanner. And I don't know if Nessus has gotten any better. I don't know if OpenVAS has gotten any better. But the last time I actually ran any kind of scans like this, it was still stupid like that and would just, throw you a false positive, which causes you issues. So you have to be smart about those things when you're running those because OpenVAS and Nessus don't give a shit. So setup continuous monitoring is always great. It helps you look for brute force attacks. Another thing with monitoring tools to detect unusual SSH patterns indicating potential adversary in the middle attacks. That might require things like deep packet inspections or at least the handshake portion of it. You might also look for brute force attacks where you can see multiple dozens of connections going in or out. And as we've talked on the show before, it's not the 75 attempts that you care about, it's the 76th attempt that gets in, right? So it's good to know that there's a brute force attack going on, but you don't need to log all 50 of those, right? You could log the first, the fifth, the seventh, and if you know if you can see the logs and go, oh, okay, he's starting with A Aaron, B boy, C cat, D dog, you can go, oh, okay, he's just the attacker. Sorry, not to genderize it. Is using some kind of wordless, usernames and dictionary type, spray and pray and hope that works, which skids do that all the time. Align security policies with SSH best practices. What are those best practices, right? One, don't use passwords, right? Disable root logins. As a matter of fact, root shouldn't be able to log in at all. Use strong ciphers like AES 256 GCM. The point of removing these ciphers is so that you cannot downgrade to a cipher that could like triple des, for fuck's sake. That, if you're using 256 GCM, that's probably the gold standard right now. The one that everybody should be using. If you're, but for legacy's sake, you still might need the 128-bit. Or you can, did it say to remove the CTR stuff too? I think it did. I think it definitely said the CBC stuff, right? Okay, so it said remove the CBC and any cha-cha polys. Yeah, okay, so it did. It said remove any AES CTR stuff as well. Okay, all right, cool. So yeah, that would basically leave us with 256. So there'd be no downgrade attacks if you don't have the same cipher on both sides. It's just not going to connect, and you're gonna break implementations, which is why I said, some network appliances, some older IoT stuff, some, that box you have stuffed in a corner that's gathering dust that probably hasn't been updated in forever probably may not use AES 256 GCM. So that's why I said make sure you're not going to break anything by being able to connect to those things when you do that. Continuous monitoring is great. Best practices, don't use passwords, right? There actually are 2FA options now for SSH. I actually investigated some of those when I was lived in Seattle. Actually, I think it was when I worked at. It's been a few years, but they do work. SSH 2FA. Yeah, so even Ubuntu's got some documentation on how to make that work. I would hope that it works very similarly to Yeah, and you can use Google Authenticator or any authenticator app to give you a 6-digit code for that. Yeah, here you go. Yeah, so you can install libpam Google Authenticator, sudo yum or DNF install, that kind of thing. Google Authenticator. So yeah, there's definitely a way to do this. I don't know how old this is, but it should still, okay, 2023. So it's still somewhat up to date. But yeah, if you're using straight SSH and you still have to use passwords, and you can't use something like a YubiKey or go to certificate based where it's like you're using certificates. Actually, so passwords would be like level 1, good solid password. Level 2 would be like password plus 2FA. Level 3 would be like, I'm not saying you drop the 2FA, but okay. So in this case, level 2 would be no passwords. Use certificates. Level 3 might be certificates plus 2FA, right? And then of course any higher than that would be like YubiKeys, OAuth, some kind of, visit this website and, authenticate yourself so that you'll get a token that you can only use the SSH for 20 minutes and then you're going to get logged off kind of stuff. It goes super granular if you want to. Also, oh, there it is. So yeah, there's a ton of best practices. The problem is every time you go up is more complexity, which means users aren't going to like it. Makes it harder to incorporate into workflows. 2FA will break a lot of automated workflows. You can get away with certificates, which is great, but if you have to put a code in or if you have to put a password in for your certificate every time you do a login, unless you have some kind of escrow thing like SSH Keygen, which was written by the guy who, or no, not SSH Keygen, it's SSH Agent. From, I think it's the guy who wrote Putty, SSH Key Agent. Yeah, something like this that will hold your key in escrow, or log you in that way. Your users are going to find ways around your stuff. So the higher up you go, the more complexity required. Yes, more secure, but less user friendly, less customer friendly. Yes, automate patches. Yeah, that's great. Run risk assessments. Yes, make sure that you have, you're using some kind of compliance tool or some kind of, recipe for building your instances. Puppet, Chef. What's the other one that starts with an A? Puppet, Chef. Ansible. Terraform. Whatever that you're using for automating your creation of your VMs or automating your your configuration management. Make sure that is all in place. That way it reduces your need to do work outside of these things. Yes, regularly check compliance standards. If NIST or CIS benchmarks, oh God, I hate CIS benchmarks. Be careful implementing your CIS benchmarks. They're a pain in the ass and they don't really do anything. Disabling a bunch of kernel modules, file systems, whatever, you don't need to disable Squash FS in your Linux boxes. It's just so stupid. It's just so stupid. So it's funny. So automate patches so 7 and 8 are pretty much the same thing. Automate the patches and update your OpenSSH. Adjust your SSH settings. So yeah, remove certain ciphers, cha-cha, poly, and CBC ciphers, and ACTR ciphers. But yeah, like I said, remember everything's got to match, or you're not going to be able to get in. And then keep up with ongoing security updates. So the last 3 are pretty much, the last 7, 8, and 10 are all pretty much the same updates, right? I found it interesting because if you wrote this correctly, this would be a great way to walk your teams through detection response, compensating controls, or mitigating controls. So let's say somebody gets hit with a Terrapin attack. Your detection people should have caught that. They should have been able to route a ticket to your response people and your incident response folks. The compensating controls could be added because one of the things that they don't mention here that you could do for things like brute force attacks is implement fail to ban, or is fail to ban still a thing? I still use it. Yeah, there you go. And it's not just for SSH hosts, it's for anything that, you know, keeps banging on your system for authentication errors. I've used it for years. Deny hosts is another that you can use. Deny hosts, yeah. This one I think, yeah, from brute force attacks. I think you can set it up to do other things as well. But yeah, those things you can, there's a configuration file, and if there's more than 5 connections, it will, you know, soft ban or permaban that IP address. You can actually say, you know, and use your hosts deny and hosts allow on Linux, or, well, I don't know if hosts deny and hosts allow works on Windows boxes. I'm assuming they have something similar. You can do that in Windows Firewall or what have you, push out policy through GPO. But, you know, you can block whole countries. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, that doesn't solve anything. They have to go, they can still go through VPNs or Tor. And I'm like, okay, great. They still have to go through an additional level of security. I'm not saying it's your only security, but if you don't do any business or have any employees in, you know, outside the United States, only allow IP addresses from the States, or only allow, you know, if you're a small enough organization, you only have 30 or 40 people, only allow IP addresses from those people. You know, it should be pretty easy, you know, if they're working from home, to, you know, get their IP address in some way, shape, or form. You know, if they're VPNing in, you should be able to read those logs and go, okay, this is connected from this. This is Bob from accounting. This is, you know, Gene from, you know, services, what have you. What? Wow yourself. Wow. Yes, I'm telling people about SSH and about just, you know, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's, you know, I think they could have gone a lot deeper on that. But I like the write-up in the way it was, because if you had time to do a write-up like this for a vulnerability for your management or what have you, or that turtle, man, that turtle reminds me of the sloth. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things here. It's like, you know, talking about, you know, some of this is going to be, you know, boilerplate. A lot of it's going to be like, you know, monitoring. And, you know, what are you going to monitor? So, you know, it would require you to look at whatever logs are generated by that service, you know, during a handshake connection, and going, okay, this is what a typical connection should look like. And then if there's any deviation in that, SSH key with a password would be considered 2FA. You're right, Digital. That is correct. Yeah, I was thinking more along the lines of, you know, Google Auth or whatever. The problem is if your password is still garbage, you know, it's not much of a 2FA. If your SSH key password is, you know, password 1, yeah, it's not much in the way of 2FA. At least with 2FA, it's a randomized generated 6-digit code, etc., etc. And, you know, then you don't, the problem with like the 2FA, like you know, like I suggested, is if you need the 2FA to make a connection to your server, unless you're using something like, you know, something that's going to sustain that connection, like a TMUX connection or something like that, you know, even with a shitty password, an attacker would need to hold the SSH key to, you know, that, yeah, yes, absolutely correct. Yeah, that's, you're right. That's my bad. They would need to have that SSH key. Yeah, because yeah, they would get when they would log in, if they don't have the SSH certificate key pair, you know, the private key, they would get they'd get a password login, but technically you shouldn't have a password. So it would be set to, you know, I believe in like your Etsy shadow, you'd have like an X or something like that, where it'd be an impossible value to be able to find. And then, you know, you're going to log in with your credentials or with your private key, which is going to compare to the public key, which exists on the server and other servers, and then do that kind of thing, and then let you in. So, yeah. So that's. I thought it was a good write-up. The only problem is I think they could have made this about half the size, unfortunately, because a lot of it is just do a banner check. There's no caveats in there about being able to understand what and then 3 of them are patch your shit, right? And of course there's no link to SSH best practices. It just says update your SSH configurations. That's gonna pretty much happen when patches come out for OpenSSH, like when they deprecate something, or you can actually add other encryption. Like if you really needed to have post-quantum encryption, you could do that. That's definitely a thing you could do. And then your risk assessments and compliance checks, that's going to be probably a regular thing that's going to happen. It's like, okay, today there's been no changes in the network. Oh wait, there's been one change. Why did Gene from services do this on this machine, or why did they allow a user to log in as root, or that kind of thing. So that should be part of your monitoring checks. Your monitoring in there, it feels like. So yeah, and then the last 7, 8, and 10 are all update your shit. So I was like, okay. There's not a lot to SSH. I mean, that's why it just kind of works, and it's so crazy powerful, right? IP blocks or something they could have mentioned in here. Fail to ban. I mean, it's not like they didn't already say and suggest using third-party software to secure your environment. I mean, they're talking about OpenVAS and Nessus and using OpenSCAP and other things. So, fail to ban is always good. Deny host is always good, and it's fairly easy. And I believe you can deploy it similarly across your Linux VMs or environment, and it's good. I like the soft block on that, and you can even go further with the obfuscation. You could run your SSH on a non-standard port. Yes, it doesn't stop much. If somebody's running a port scan, they'll just notice a non-standard port running, and they'll go and try to poke at it and go, oh, it's SSH. Okay, they're trying to run it on port 2022 or something like that. It's fine. You can also do things like port masking, or you can do like port knocking if you wanted to do it that way, where you can set it up where if you have to tap a certain coordination there. Again, it's not the only security that you can put in, but it is a step of security, because the idea is to stymie people or make it a pain in the ass to even get there in the first place, but still allowing your folks to do their job. So, okay, so one last thing, because I posted this up in, where is it? Twitter brings us, and I found this, somebody posted this at work, and then I posted it up to our Slack earlier this week. Supposedly, Control plus, there we go. So, according to this person, they have found a SHA-256 collision. Now, this I get for Jesus, man. From what I understand, there's some additional bits that are there. I believe this was on a 32-bit system. I could wait a minute. Let me redouble check this. Somebody smarter than me said something. I'm not a crypto person, so let me go in and double check the comments at work about some of this. Oh, that's okay. I believe this was on a 32-bit system, which somebody had said, hey, this is not a huge deal because it happened on a 32-bit system, but somebody did mention that ARM does run 32-bit still. So let me see. What's this? Okay. You random. There it is. Okay. So somebody replied, aren't most production systems 64 steps though? Yes, I've not seen a 32-bit Intel system in production since 2012. Plenty of 32-bit ARM though. I mean, the number of steps in the hash 64 steps is normal, right? More discussion here about the plain text used in the collision. Also a good deal of discussion around steps or rounds of 256. This being 31 steps or rounds instead of the standard 64 used by most SHA-256 implementations. So I'm guessing the steps mean like how many times it's been XOR'd, or hashing is you take this value, you go through XOR and you know where it flips it and you know reverses it. You know, what's that song by Miss? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's let me go see if I can grab the link to the okay Y Combinator. All right, so I'm going to exfil a URL here, and I will grab it real quick because somebody added the Y Combinator link. Oh. Yeah, there we go. That's what I get for having two keyboards on my table. Hopefully I just didn't copy paste a password into my chat window. Okay, and there we go. All right, so according to Y Combinator, which I will post that link as well. Doink. So anyway, why do we care, right? It's an integrity check. Again, back to the SSH thing. People will use hashes to verify that files are legit. It used to be MD5 was enough, and then there were attacks because the way an MD5 hash was derived, you could do trillions of hashes at a time and get your collision, which would allow you to falsify the integrity of something, or you can make it so that it's possible for a file to look legit but still be a bad file, or it's all about integrity, right? Then we moved to SHA-1, and then we moved to SHA-2, and then we moved to SHA-256. A lot of people still use SHA-1 because it's still computationally very difficult. I don't know what it took to actually do this with SHA-256, but okay, that's what I did. I accidentally made my screen a little bigger here. So it's not a full attack, and you are safe for now. Okay, so believe what Lifthrazer says. If sounds like he might know what he's talking about here. So from what I understand, this is the same as number 1. I don't know what number 1 is. Oh, I see. So there's a PDF here. Okay, new records and collision attacks on SHA-2. Okay, so it feels like that there's oh, it's part of the SHA-2 family. Duh. Right. So yeah, grab your PDFs while you can. There we go. Retroid has reproduced this on B-Sky, so if you have Blue Sky, then you'll be able to read that. I made this throwaway Twitter account so I could read the replies to this, and it was a depressing experience. The tweet is legit, but it's an academic result. Full 256 has 64 rounds. Everyone's losing their minds in the replies and quotes, thinking it's a full break. Okay. So yeah, we've got time. It's 256 ain't broke. Somebody's been working on this so far, but yeah. So but it's interesting, if you're a crypto weasel or crypto nerd, you might like the math behind it. And this is actually the first time I've been on Blue Sky that I've actually found something that's somewhat legit. So it kind of looks like, yeah, this is Blue Sky, and it looks like a ripoff of old Twitter. So interesting. If there was a practical collision attack on 28 rounds in 2016, only 3 rounds of progress in 8 years is a pretty good sign for 256. Okay. For new code, it might be better to use Blake 2B, Blake 3, or SHA 3, but at the same time, I don't think there's any rush to mitigate existing systems away from 256. Okay. So yeah. Now, post quantum something something. There, I, at some point this will be bad. But hey, Evan, kid, yeah. Hey, Evan, how you doing? Glad to see you here. So yeah. Please feel free to read through this. There's a lot of math here, I'm sure, that I don't quite understand. And from what some of these people are saying, at this rate of progress, a collision attack for 256 will be in about 90 years. I'm thinking it's going to be a lot sooner than that because, as we know, computational power is going to go up. The ability to derive these through GPUs or what have you will be a little better and better. If you didn't buy NVIDIA stock 2 years ago, you're stupid. I didn't buy it. I'm stupid, obviously. So yeah, there's a lot of good documentation here. There's a lot of good, seems like there's a lot of smart people on this. So the one thing I will say about Hacker News or Y Combinator is that they do hold themselves not financial advice. Yeah, you are correct. Actually, I will give you some financial advice. Hasbro. And the reason I'm suggesting that, and this isn't like not like GameStop stock, but Hasbro has Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast, of course, puts out Dungeons and Dragons. To name a few, in Magic the Gathering and what have you, but they also pay out a fairly fat dividend for each share of stock. So if you have one share of their stock, right now it's like $56 a share. Each share they give you 70 cents. I like a lot of stocks that pay dividends. What I do know, and what everybody knows, is that Wizards of the Coast is about to put out an update to Dungeons and Dragons. They have 5th edition out now. They had what was called 5E or 5.5E or D&D Next or whatever. And so they're putting out, I think they're calling it like a refresh, but basically they're adding a bunch of new content. They're deprecating a bunch of some of the older stuff that was a bit more insensitive to newer generations of people. Things like orcs and goblins and everything, which were traditionally the bad guys of Dungeons and Dragons and are based off of unkind racial stereotypes. They've kind of rewritten them since Monsters of the Multiverse, Mordenkainen. Is it Mordenkainen's? Yeah. Anyway, so they're refreshing some of that. They're putting in a bunch of new artwork. They've already come in under fire because I think somebody partially used some AI on that. But they're going to push that out, and right now, Wizard of the Coast is the only profitable portion of Hasbro right now. And they bought a movie studio, and they put out their Dungeons and Dragons movie with the idea that they're going to put out more content coming out. So, I'm not saying that it is worth buying, but it's a cash cow. It's like, every time a new Star Wars movie comes out, people bitch and complain about the content, but they'll go and see the movie, even if they just hate watch it. A lot of people who like Dungeons and Dragons, I'll never leave 5th edition, or I'll never leave 4th edition, or I'll never leave 3.5. They still buy the fucking books. And you got D&D Beyond and all that stuff too. So they are trying to expand their offerings. And for me, it's not the mechanics of D20-esque stuff. And I know that they took a beating on the Creative Commons stuff about a year ago, but since they've now embraced, or the OGL stuff, they took a beating on a couple of years ago when they tried to take back some of the control on that. But now they've gone to Creative Commons licensing, which is great. For me, it's the lore. It's not the stuff inside. So they put out good source books. I'll buy them. So it doesn't always have to be the books themselves. It's, different settings, Ravenloft, and all those stuff that keeps coming out. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice solid stock. They put out a decent dividend every month. I have I think a couple hundred shares. It's not anything major, but a couple hundred shares at 70 cents a share. You get like another share and a third every 3 months or so. It's not bad. It's not something you're going to pump and dump. That kind of thing. So anyway, I like to buy stock that pays dividends, right? And yeah, they're digital. I mean, they're expanding their digital offerings to be online, D&D Beyond. They're looking at maybe doing movies because they bought a movie studio. You know, I liked the last Dungeons and Dragons movie with Chris Pine. I thought it was quite good. And it's not one of those things where you have to have Chris Pine in every movie. It could be yet another story because they were in Baldur's Gate. They were in the Sword Coast in that area with Forgotten Realms. They could go to, you know, the Astral Sea with Spelljammer, or, you know, sky's the limit, right? So, and they have a multiverse. So, and they're rebuilding that through the Monsters of the Multiverse stuff. So, but yeah, I have, you know, I've got Starbucks, I've got Microsoft, I've got Walmart, I've got a couple of mining places that you know are you know, picking up bauxite and things for EV components and whatever. You know, it's, you know, you can buy whatever stock you like. You know, I buy what I use, so Microsoft, and I've got some Qualcomm stock left over from the day, but you know, and you don't have to buy a lot. You buy a little at a time, or, you know, what have you, but you stick around with it. And I think I started out with, you know, $10,000-$15,000 here, and I think today on my E-Trade it's roughly $150,000. So, I mean, I've kept that. Some of that stuff is 15 years old, the stock that I've got, and I've had stock splits, and, you know, I picked up Twitter when it IPO'd, and I barely got money back from that. I also picked up what got bought, Mandiant. I had Mandiant shares, and they got bought by Google. And the important thing is to, you know, reinvest your dividends, you know, when you get them. So anyway, that's stock tips from Brian. Not security, but, you know, well, I guess they are. You could buy securities. It's not the same, but, you know. Anyway, I'm gonna go. If you are in San Diego and you have a ticket to B-Side San Diego, come see me. I will be wearing a shirt. I don't know which shirt yet. I may have a name tag. One of the things that I also asked the security folks was, how are we going to denote ourselves as security? So I had the idea that I was going to pick up some magnetic name tags so I can have a name tag for myself that says maybe security or something. Yeah, B-Side San Diego's Saturday, so I have to be up at 6 a.m. to get down to SDSU from where I live in Mira Mesa to help set up. It's going to be a long day. Probably, I think the keynote starts at 9 o'clock, and then the after party starts at 5, and then, you know, we GTFO around 8. So it's going to be a long day for me. So I'm actually taking tomorrow off from work because I told my boss, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be. So, but yeah, if you see me, say hi. I'll be pointing people to the bathrooms and to the different tracks. So hope everyone has a good... Oh, you know what? Who's online right now? Let's go see. Mr. Twitch.tv breaksec. Is Mr. Devon on? Is Devon on? My bad. Devon is on. Sid Heresy's on. God, I do not know why the recommended channels on Twitch right now is like softcore porn. Anything that says pools, hot tubs, and whatever, I don't know, but I don't want to even click on those because I don't know. I'm not feeling it, but it feels like it's just now porn or something. Yeah, let's go do Sid. Raid. Heresy. Ding, 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 ding. All right. So we're gonna go raid Sid for a few minutes. I'll be back on Tuesday. I'll let you know how B-Side San Diego went, and hope you all have a good rest of your day and have a good weekend. All right, y'all. All right. We'll talk to you later. Bye.